So do you have little ones?
I have a grandson. I have two children, but my daughter's 26 and my son is 19 and my grandson is 2. Oh. So do you hear anything in the background?
I did hear some little ones. I thought it was a little one.
Yeah, that's a little one. Yes, that's a little one. That's my grandson.
I thought it was yours, maybe. I'm like, oh.
No. Been there, done that.
Quickly. Said that too quickly.
Been there, done that.
I know.
But I just love him. It's just, he's a unique love. So I understand what my mother felt with her grandchildren.
Right. And then you can send them home.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I have 10, so I know.
Nice.
Yeah. You ready, Terrance? You still muted.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for joining. Those that are on Facebook Live, please share and tag. We have two special guests. Well, one is our featured guest, who's Assemblywoman Angela McKnight. And I also have our president, who was excited to join us today, even in the midst of her busy schedule, Dr. Marcheta Evans. And I want to bring on a special person just to give more of a formal introduction to Angela McKnight, one of our community partners from Parents Engaging Parents.
Hello, Angela. How we doing, Assemblywoman?
Hi, I'm Therese. I didn't know you were going to be on today.
Nah, I'm not going to be on. I just wanted to definitely take the opportunity. Terrance gave me the opportunity to just welcome you to, being here today and definitely talking about the civic and also the community engagement that needs to happen definitely during this time, but something that me being a mentee under your work has understood for some time. So I definitely thank you for coming on and being a part of sharing your leadership that I'm thankful for being a part of, and I know so many others are. So thank you, Dr. Evans, once again. Thank you for your leadership and for what you continue to bring to Bloomfield. And I'm going to sit back and listen. And thank you again, guys.
Thank you again for your work as well.
Yes. He's a true leader, I tell you.
I know. Yes.
Okay, so I want to start off by just doing reading a brief bio about the Assemblywoman, and then Assemblywoman, we'd like to transition into just get some background on you. We have students who come from Jersey City, of course, Hudson County, and the president agrees, but I always say it's important for our students to see us in front of us, to see the examples that come from communities like we do and go on to do amazing things just like you have. And so I'll read just a little bit of, for those who are in the audience, of Assemblywoman Angela McKnight's bio. Angela McKnight is a Democratic Party politician who represents the 31st Legislative District in New Jersey General Assembly. She was first sworn into office on January 12, 2016. Assemblywoman McKnight is a resident of Jersey City, New Jersey. McKnight received a bachelor's degree from the University of Phoenix with a major in business management. She is the founder and chief executive officer of Angela Cares, an advocacy and support organization for senior citizens. As a member of the General Assembly, McKnight has been appointed to serve on the Education Committee, the Health and Senior Services Committee, and the Human Services Committee. She is a certified state health insurance assistance program representative, and also the second vice chair of Greenville Community Partnership, chair of the Hudson County Long-Term Recovery Committee, and a member of the National Association of Professional Women. How appropriate. Welcome, Assemblywoman Angela McKnight again.
Thank you.
And so tell us a little bit about, well, let's start off with, what are you working on in the Assembly right now? What is pressing? The governor I asked him to reach out to you via cell while we were doing some technical things just to check on you. He said that you were handling some business. So we just want to check in. How are you? How's your family?
My family is fine. I am still on the front line. What we are doing predominantly is working on COVID-19. That is our priority, to make sure that all citizens of all ages are well. And through my nonprofit, we have started doing grocery shopping and delivering meals to senior citizens throughout Hudson County. And I also have a food pantry, and we opened that up like twice already to help feed families. And from a legislative standpoint, we already had our first ever voting electronics session, where we introduced some bills and approved some bills to help New Jerseyans. So everything is all around COVID-19 right now.
And in terms of just your family, how's your household doing? I see you're still taking care of the community. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of home? And what are some common practices or things you're doing to keep your children entertained that you can share with us? I have a 13-year-old.
Well, my daughter is 26 and my son is 19. He's second year in college, so he's doing online classes. Mm-hmm. And I do have a 2-year-old grandson, and he's keeping us busy, not me keeping him busy. He's keeping us busy. So what I'm doing, we're watching movies, I'm reading books, I'm drinking ginger tea. I have my tea right here that I'm drinking, and, taking my vitamin C. And I love sleep. People say you're always out in the community. Do you ever sleep? Yes, I do. I do get my sleep. So this weekend, I stayed in the entire Saturday, Sunday. Yesterday, I was only out for half an hour. And now we're gearing up to do more grocery shopping for seniors. And we're going to open up the food pantry as well this week. So I'm just enjoying my family, my husband, and my couch. This is my new place of business, what I'm sitting on now, and just enjoying it. And I'm finding new ways about myself. I love now listening to meditation music to go to sleep, because it just shuts my entire body down at night. And I sleep a little late now because I'm exercising home and not at the gym. I have to get back on my exercise routine, but I'm just enjoying this. I'm trying to not be negative. I'm positive, thinking of all the positive things that are coming out of this, right? My schedule is not that booked. And now I'm able to spend more time with myself as well as my family.
Before we proceed, I want to get into a little bit about your background again, growing up. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Also, your time at the University of Phoenix, I believe it is, correct? But Dr. Evans, we have a lot of exciting things going on at Bloomfield too, relevant to leadership. And that's why we wanted you to also be a part of this session, because you're in the middle of our student government election season. And so hopefully you can inspire some of the leadership out there. Maybe we can get you, we're having a candidates training on Saturday. Maybe we can get you to chime in or step in on this Saturday as well. Dr. Evans?
Yeah, sure. No, this is an exciting time. Even though we're trying to do everything remotely, the college is still moving forward, and we need everybody engaged in a lot of different ways. And we're very excited as we're starting to prepare for our new students to come on to campus. We, put out applications, and we had, I think it's 37 to 39 students to apply to be orientation leaders and to work with our students in their first year experience. It's so critical for our students to make sure that they get acclimated and understand all the different types of resources that we offer and supports. I know I have a lot of the staff that's on this call listening. Bloomfield College is predominantly Black institution as well as Hispanic serving institution, but we're student-centered and student-focused regardless of race, ethnicity. And so, one of the things is getting students that have kind of gone on the path and has, they've been successful. We're trying to get other students as well to show them the way. Sometimes when they hear it from me or hear it from another faculty member or an old head, as they call me, they don't want to listen as much or they don't remember as much. But when they can talk to someone that has gone through or is going through similar experiences, it resonates a little bit more. So we have that whole leadership of wanting to be an orientation leader and working with our first year students that we're very excited about. As Terrance mentioned earlier, too, we also have our student government elections going on. We have the president's position, the vice president of organizational affairs, the treasurer and secretary positions that are all open and that are on the ballot for this election.
Wow.
Students, we need you to get out and we need you to vote, not just for this, but coming up in November as well and any other type of voting that's going on. So this is a perfect example to demonstrate how your voice matters. And, you know, if you don't show up, then you can't talk about it, in my opinion. If you don't go out there and vote, stop complaining. You got to, again, make sure that your voice is heard. And I'm sure that Assemblywoman will talk more about that later on, that regardless of what's happening in Washington, D.C., regardless of who the president is, you still need to vote right now for what's happening locally in your community. So please go ahead and take care of that. And then finally, the elections are going to start February the 8th, beginning at 12 noon and end on May 10th, also at noon. So again, keep that in mind. And I see Kyle saying he'll be there. Great, Kyle. And then finally, one other final thing I want to mention is our portraits of excellence. When you come into Talbot Hall, you'll see some pictures up, and we're going to do some different things with those pictures, hopefully in the future. But, you know, looking at those portraits of excellence, that's a perfect example, Assemblywoman, of our students in action. We get nominations from faculty, staff, administration, or even students or representatives from other organizations to nominate individuals that are excelling in service, excelling in leadership. And so we want you, all that are on this call, to nominate someone. We also want you to see your picture up on the wall as well. So please, this is dealing with direct engagement in our mission as a college, and that is demonstrating the leadership, the service, that whole civic mindedness. I always say the greatest joys in life is when you can serve others and really nobody necessarily know that you did it. And the impact that you have on lives. So I know I kind of rattled off some things very quickly, but I think they segue very well into what our theme is today. And that's, again, looking at pathways to sustainable careers and you enjoying what you do. I always tell students, find your passion. You don't ever want to have a job where you dread getting up and going to work every day, you know. And if you're doing what you love, yeah, there'll be some good days and there'll be some bad days, but still, you know the impact that you're having and how important that is. So, Terrance, Mr. Bankston, thank you for allowing me to rattle that off very quickly. And, you know, I'm excited about hearing what you have to say.
Yes, I'm excited about Dr. Evans is excited about student engagement, and we would think that all presidents are, right? And certain presidents play different roles. We have a president that puts students first. She's relentless and unflinching in that area. And so that just naturally breathes off to staff members like myself who are too passionate about student leadership and engagement and paying it not just forward, but giving back to those that are coming up behind you, which you have already been afforded. Councilwoman, tell us how that has helped you growing up and some of the things that you were involved in as a young lady and then evolving into the great leader you are here in the state of New Jersey.
So I've always, first of all, Dr. Evans, you are amazing. You just took all my words, you know, so I'm just going to echo what you said, but you are amazing. Since I was small, I always had a helping hand. I walked my brother and sister to school. I made sure that they were fine. I always helped my mother. And I wanted to be a lawyer growing up. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to law school, but that didn't pan out. Then I wanted to travel. So I became an executive assistant and I traveled and then I rolled up the ranks. And while I was in the corporate world, I always was the person who helped. Any and everything that you needed, I was there. And when my grandmother and my mother got sick, I became my grandmother's main caregiver and I helped my siblings take care of my mother. And I saw the void with the senior community. I saw some professionals just there for a paycheck. I saw some family members not there at all. And I wanted to be on the side of the village that actually helped seniors. So a year prior to me leaving the corporate world, I started a company to do errand services for seniors, like going food shopping for them. And I have a love of computers, so helping them sign up for Google and reading their mail. But then I noticed that they needed more than that. So I started a nonprofit, and that's Angela Cares. So I left my job because I didn't have that passion. And the doctor talked about that. You have to have a passion. I never knew that I was going to be the one that helped senior citizens. Had no idea. But my love for my grandmother and my love for helping other seniors, succeed, that's when I knew, wow, I have a passion for seniors. So I started this nonprofit, and I wanted our young people to be able to learn and gain that knowledge from seniors. And I also wanted other caregivers, because I was a caregiver and I didn't really have an outlet to go to. I was, dreading, trying to take care of my grandmother, trying to help my mom, trying to figure out what to do. And I didn't have an outlet. So Angela Cares, we came up. I talked to my team. I said, I want to start this nonprofit. I want to help seniors. I want to join youth and seniors together. And I also want to help caregivers. And since 2011, I've been doing that. And I just love seniors. People call me the senior lady. And that's okay, because I love being a senior lady. So if you are listening and you want to be a leader, just find something that you have a passion for. I don't mind staying up 2-3 o'clock in the morning because I'm working on a report to help a senior, or I'm doing research to help a senior or help a caregiver. I don't care. I get enough sleep and I'm up in the morning and I'm back at it. On top of being a legislator, I'm also an advocate, and I have that passion. So you have to have a passion. And now, since COVID is here, I am, out there, risking my life. I'm being very protective and taking precaution. But there are so many seniors that are in the home and they don't have anyone. And we want to flatten the curve. So I said, why don't we just bring groceries to them? So with service learning, you can go to college, you can learn all you need to learn. But if you don't have that service learning, right next to it, it's just, theory. You have to actually put it into motion. So if you love animals, start volunteering at the animal shelter. If you love the environment, okay, start doing research on the environment and find that passion and just work on it. Some people say, oh, you have to do 2, 3, 4 things. No, you don't. You find that one thing that you have passion about and you become a subject matter expert, or a SME, I call it, SME. And you just go for it and do it. And people will call you, oh, that's the animal lady, or that's the animal man, or, he loves, working on the environment, or he loves making sure that there's drinking water for, third world countries. Whatever it is, just do it. And you use the theory that you're learning in school and tie it in. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone who is up for election, right? Whoever's up for election, to find out what are you doing? What's your niche? You don't have to have 10 things on your resume just to say I'm a leader. Just have that one thing and just become a subject matter expert. So that's my story. I was born and raised here in Jersey City, and I will be forever a senior lady.
So I want to get a little bit more into your nonprofit and ask you some specific questions. I've done some research on this subject matter and just interested in getting your feedback on it. Not just from, you're living it, a lot of it. You are an example of it. So I think that your take on it, even if you may not agree with some of the, everything may not be applicable, say to our community or maybe those in the audience, but getting your take on it, I think would be important. But before we get to that, we do have a college audience. What was Angela like in at Phoenix University, and what motivated you to choose the major you chose? Did you get involved in student life at all, Greek life at all, student leadership at all?
So that's a good question. So my first year, I went to St. Peter's College. Then I went there for computer science because I briefly mentioned that I love computers. Mm-hmm. But I took the first class and I said, no, there's too many zeros and ones for me. So then I transferred and I did a year at Jersey City State College. That's what it was called. And I said, okay, what do I want to do? So I changed my major to business management because I just saw myself carrying a briefcase. So that's what made me choose business management. I'm like, okay, I'll open up a company, but I want to carry a briefcase. Mm-hmm. And then I took 2 years off because I wanted to spend time with my children. And then researching, I decided to go to University of Phoenix. So I did my last 2 years online. So I went to University of Phoenix. I felt that University of Phoenix was good for a working mother because I always worked. and it allowed me to be home with my children, and I can, learn throughout the day or throughout the night. So going to University of Phoenix, or you can say when I was in high school, I was part of the Key Club. I was part of I forgot the name of it, but it was like student-led program, like a business-led program. Mm-hmm. So I was always involved. And then when I got to college, no, I didn't join any fraternities, any sororities, any clubs. Because I had 2 children and I just wanted to learn, take care, be the best mom and be the best wife I can, for my family. And then when I went to University of Phoenix, I just, finished that off. So, but I've always had my hands into things. I always helped people. So I consider myself a leader in my community because I'm always there. You can call me today. Hey, Angela, can you help me with this? And I'm there. So you don't have to have all these clubs, all these credentials. You just have to have a heart for something, and just go out in the world and just do it. Create a legacy.
You kind of told us about what the theme at Bloomfield College. Well, we have a few things. One of the ones is write your own story. And so we encourage students to write their own story. And that's sort of what you did. You not just as an Assemblywoman, but you obviously took your passion for seniors and turned it into a nonprofit. I hear young people all the time, particularly people of color that come from our community saying, I want to start a nonprofit on this. I want to start a nonprofit on that. How do I begin a nonprofit? What advice would you give to those who have a passion and have an interest and cannot find an organization that perhaps exists, but they have the desire to perhaps create their own nonprofit? What advice would you give? And what were some of the challenges and even gratifications that you experienced as you were going to that journey?
Okay, so if you can't find an organization that fits your passion, then you go out and create your own. And not meaning go ahead and create a nonprofit, meaning go out and start the work. So for example, let's see what I can say, children, like you want to be a mentor to children. Okay, what you can do, you can create a relationship with a school or with a daycare center so that you can go and volunteer so that you can start working with those children, right? You can start reading to them. Maybe you want to be a big brother, big sister, and you just start the work. Or you can start with your close family and friends. They probably have children, so you become their mentor and see if that is something that you like. Because so many people come to me, I want to start a nonprofit. Well, have you been out there? Have you started doing the work? Because I don't want you to jump into something without actually testing the water. So once you get out there, I started my nonprofit with the children. I started with my nieces and nephews and my next door neighbor son and my son. And I had them here on this couch, it's still the same couch. And I work with them each and every week. With seniors, I help my mother, I help my grandmother, and then I started helping my grandmother friends because I didn't know of any other organization out in the world that was doing what I wanted to do. So you create that. And then once you have that foundation, like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to be a mentor to kids. I've been mentoring my nieces and nephews or my close friends for about 6 months, and I really like this. And then you start answering that who, what, when, where, and why, and how. So when you're going to do this, how you're going to do it, what you're going to do, where, and that you answer those questions and you map it out, then you start forming that nonprofit. But don't form a nonprofit because it's money involved. People think that you're going to get grants and all that good stuff. Well, that comes later, if it comes, because you have to be willing to invest your own money. So to start a nonprofit, you have to register the nonprofit. So that costs money. To have a 501c3, you have to fill out the paperwork from the federal, and you have to pay for that. And then every year you have to pay a certain amount of money. So don't just rush into trying to start a nonprofit without doing the legwork in the beginning.
So someone asks, can a hobby become a nonprofit, or is that not a good idea? What's your feedback on that?
Depending on the hobby, yes. So say, can you give me an example of a hobby that you would like to start a nonprofit, or you're thinking to start? Can someone answer that question? And
while they type that, I'm sure they're listening in. I'll wait for their response. this kind of transitioned us into your role and some of the things that you've done as an Assemblywoman as well. And then I'll get into some of the points that we'd like you to respond to. Juan Gomez wanted to know, as an Assemblywoman, what would you categorize as your greatest success, and how did you overcome the bureaucracy of it all to achieve that?
Whew, I have a lot of successes, but I'll talk about one. Having a piece of legislation to remove hair braiders, to create a separate license for hair braiders. So, for example, hair braiders had to get a cosmetology license. When they go to cosmetology school, they never learned about, braiding hair, handling African-American hair, but they had to pay upwards to about $20,000 and spend about 1,200 hours just to get this license. So my piece of legislation was to remove the hair braiding license from the cosmetology license and create its own license. So it will be about $1,000 and maybe 40 to 50 hours. That piece of legislation is like amazing, because now minorities, right, they can go to school, less money, get this license and braid hair. They can braid hair in their homes, or they can create a brick and mortar. And that was one piece of legislation that I'm so proud of. And another piece of legislation that I'm proud of is the hair discrimination. So inside of the discrimination law for New Jersey, now you cannot discriminate against hair. And I got that from Andrew Johnson, who was the high school wrestler, and he had to either forfeit the fight or, cut his dreads. And not anymore, because the governor actually signed my piece of legislation into law. So you cannot discriminate against hair, what grows out of our head. So those are two pieces of legislation that I'm so proud of. And I lobbied against, for it. I went out and got support for it. And to know in 10 years, when you look inside the books, the law books, those two pieces of legislation are there.
We definitely thank you for not only choosing to be on the right side of history, but taking the actions to place yourself and be an example and us there as well. A little bit more about the politics, because the question came up in the field. They talk about local elections, and we know that not all elections have partisan processes. But the question is bipartisanship a reality in politics, especially locally? What's your feeling in terms of how local politics and versus, say, county or state politics, and whether being partisan or nonpartisan is, say, a barrier or a challenge in particularly Black and Brown communities as it relates to pushing legislation and getting, say, policy on the books that affect our day-to-day life?
So I just want to make this clear to everyone. All levels of government matters, whether it's local, county, state, or federal. Some people tend to just come out for the presidential election. You need to come out for every election, including the school board. So it's important to have bipartisan pieces of legislation, because that just shows what type of elected official you are. Like, if you're on this side, you're there for everyone. Like, yes, I'm a Democrat, right? But when I vote for 9 million people. So there's times that I'm on legislation that really probably don't really impact my community, but it impacts a community that's part of New Jersey. So I'm on it, and I will definitely vote for that. Now, there are some times where, the right side don't want to work with the left side. So as a politician, what I have to do, I go and I seek assistance and support from, I only need 41 votes. So minus mine, now I need 40. So I go and try to get, bipartisan support for any piece of legislation. But at times I just can't. But if I can get my Democrats to vote with me, then by all means. It is tough, and it happens just like with anything. There's some people like, no, I don't care about that. I'm not going to vote for that. But if you're not an elected official and you use your voice, you can help win the battle. And And how you do that? By calling all elected officials, not just your elected officials. You write them, you send letters of support. You go to Trenton, you go to your BOE meetings, you go to your local county meetings, freeholders, because some people forget about the freeholders. They have legislation that affects the county as well as your local. So for each level of government, it matters. And sometimes you don't get bipartisan support, but as long as you get the support to pass the piece of legislation, just move on. That's for me. I'm just going to get what I need to get for the community and I will move on. But I have no problems in voting on both sides of the fence because everybody matters. And as long as the legislation is going to help a community, why not support it?
And why do you think, just as a final thought on the election piece, that the media gives more attention to, say, statewide and federal elections and not local elections, yet it is the local elections that impact our lives day to day?
You know what? That's a great question. And to answer that, it's just their choice. That's why, you know, the media put things out there, right? And they put it out there as their angle and how they want to tell the story. But as a regular citizen, if you are involved, you know what's happening. And you can create a blog and start talking about local elections and local government, as well as federal government. You don't just have to rely on the media.
In terms of your legislation that you had passed, how was that with you being a Democrat? Did you have to twist the arms of any of your Republican colleagues? How's your experience with that?
Well, with my hair braiding bill, yes, I did have to twist some arms, but I got the 41 votes. Nice. And there's sometimes there's legislation that I introduce and I have to support it. I have to go out there and say, this is why it's important. And that's why we have those committee meetings. And on the other side of the aisle, oh, we don't need this because of this, but you have to back up your story. You have to back up why this piece of legislation is important. And I'm always there and always ready for a good fight.
So that's important to share. And I was hoping that you would be as transparent about that, because student government leaders, they're learning this year that they have the power to legislate. They have the power to impact and change policies, not only at the student government level, but to advocate even for policy changes here at the college. And so it's important for our students, as Dean Mitchell had said to me a couple of months ago, for them to be politically active or excited about something, whether it's on campus or off campus. And that's a part of writing your own story. I would like to get your opinion on this, and then Dr. Evans, you as well. So a study that I was recently looking at indicated that actually service learning projects play more of a role in not just placing you on a career track, but helping alumni, who was particularly polled in this study, to determine what their career path is. So based on that, how does sustained service learning opportunities and civic engagement experience inform career options, and how has it helped you in your personal and professional journeys? Dr. Evans, we'll start with you.
Yes, sure. And then I'm probably going to have to jump off to get on my other call in just a little bit. But I will say, when people look at service learning, you can do service no matter what career choice you've made. You can be an accountant and still, do service, right? We had a tax, service that we would do on campus for students that were going into accounting, to work people with helping them do their tax forms, and working with seniors as well. If you're going in biology, going out and working with kids and doing a lot of different things, service comes in a lot of different categories. So it's not just what I call the helping or heart professions, which those such as nursing or counseling or education, along those lines. You can just do service, period. So, I think anytime anyone can get out and do something, as I mentioned in my introductions earlier, it's rewarding. It lets you know that it's not just all about you. Yes, you should find a job that sustains you in the lifestyle that you want to live. But with that, too, it has to be something, as Assemblywoman talked about earlier, your passion. So when you start doing service as just stepping outside of yourself, that means you're doing something for someone else or with someone else that will have an impact. So, and that is transformative. When you see the impact it has on others' lives, then again, it just re-energizes you, hopefully, to want to do more. So, I mean, that's how I kind of see service learning. It's just about any aspect of what we're doing. Hopefully we're learning something or we're teaching someone something that will be transformative in some form or fashion.
Dr. Evans, do you want to hop off the call now? And if so, is there anything that you want to say just in case you don't have the opportunity to come back?
No, again, just going back with the topic, one of the things that I've learned going with this COVID-19 too, is that when people pick certain types of careers or options, fortunately, I have 6 kids. I don't know how many of you all know that. All of my children have been okay. They're educators. They're in the health field. They're doing different types of things. But then too, where we are now, not everyone is. So making sure that we take care of each other, we take care of ourselves, we learn to be okay with not being perfect, and that's okay. And I just want to say again, thank you to the Assemblywoman for coming on and visiting with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. Assemblywoman, would you like to jump in and off on that as well?
Yes. Also, with service learning, you actually learn. You actually learn. Oh, can't do that. Can't do that anymore. Oh, you know what? This works. So, with practice makes progress. I won't say perfect because nothing is ever perfect. So, with practice makes progress. So if you're not out there having a service learning experience, how are you learning? How are you going above and beyond and diminishing the fear? Because some people have fear. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. You can do it. You just have to try. You just have to do it. So I tell people that if you're not out, if you're not playing a game, then you're just watching, right? So with service learning, you have to go out and then take what you're learning from school and apply that while you're in school, because you may want to change your degree, right? Like I did.
In politics, we say you're either at the table or on the menu. Right.
Oh,
so that's similar to the lesson that you just shared, which I think is valuable. They talked about in another study that developing values and in terms of developing values and interests and skills for future careers, which is what you're talking about, cultivating and gaining those transferable skills, that it is an important part of career development. And something else that I thought was interesting is that when they surveyed alumni from different colleges, that even in their articulation of what motivated them to make these type of career or type of decisions, that they perceived or drew that from their perception, a lot of it was drawn on their participation in service learning opportunities. Was that the case for you too? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I told you, I never thought in a million years that I would be advocating for seniors and helping seniors until I had to actually care for a loved one. I always had a mom and always had a grandmother, but until I had to actually care for them and then see other seniors not being cared for, then I received that spark. Like, this is what you need to be doing. So, and when I was in college, I just did the work and I was, here for my family. But until I had to actually put my hands on my grandmother, my hands on my mother to help them along the way, that's what I probably would still be in corporate world if I didn't have to do that, if they didn't get sick. So while you're in school, if you feel that you have that passion for something, try it. I didn't have a passion to take care of the elderly. I didn't even know that was a passion that I needed to do. I wanted to be in a business and, run my own company and call it a day. But that wasn't my true calling. My true calling was to be there, to be an advocate for senior citizens. So if you are, you're in college and you're out here and you think you want to help the animals or you think you want to be in education, just go out and start helping. And one day, something else may come and touch your heart. Like, no, education isn't for me. I need to be out to explore the world. And maybe you decide to create a nonprofit about world travel. But you have to be participating, not just, be in school just learning. You have to be a participant in action.
Do you feel that service learning and community service opportunities are compelling to prospective employers? You're an employer yourself.
So I would say, for me, I believe I put Angela Cares on the map, because I reached out to like NJCU and say, hey, can I get some interns? Is that an opportunity? Remember, I really didn't know. I'm just running a nonprofit and just figuring it out along the way.
Right.
So I was able to get two interns, and the experience that I gave the interns was what opened the door for more people to come. Like, if you're an intern at Angela Cares, you're not just filing paperwork. No, you're doing everything. You're going out to events, you're calling people, you are hands-on. So after those two interns left, they went back and told their professors, and more and more, and they told their fellow classmates. Now more and more students. I get like between 5 and 6 interns just from one college because of a previous intern. And I don't know if there are more agencies out there that is making sure that their agency is like on the map, but I made sure that Angela Cares is on the map by helping interns have service learning. It's not about just filing paperwork.
And I think that that's part of what this particular study was, and why they compared just simply volunteer opportunities to actual service learning experience. And then again, one of the important facts that I think that came out of their findings is that alumni who were surveyed that say completed 40 hours is what was used of community service during their college career and took a service learning course. So at Bloomfield, I don't know if we have service learning courses. I'll check into that, but we do have a service learning program where we were supposed to go to Bahamas this in May and come back the first week of June, but because of the travel restrictions, of course, or just the dangers of traveling, we had to cancel. But just those opportunities, it said that those, when they compared those who only completed 40 hours of just community service versus the service learning, those folks were more likely who did the service learning opportunity to engage in actual service jobs. So would you say that there was I see that you agree with that. Would you say growing up in your college experience, your volunteers opportunities is what obviously motivated you to start Angela Cares, but is that what also empowered you to want to be an Assemblywoman, or what specifically like gave you the political bug outside of the nonprofit?
Well, now you're about to laugh, because I had no intentions on becoming an elected official. I was out here doing the work of Angela Cares, and my story is through my advocacy of helping so many people were watching me. So my mayor and the Hudson County Democratic Organization came to me and asked me to run for the assembly. I had to do my research on what does an assembly person do? And, talking to my family, my husband and some friends, we decided just go for it. You'll be able to help more people and you can still do what you do. So within 24 hours, I told the mayor, yes, I will run for the assembly. And then I did my research and I started Googling other assembly people, reading about what they do and how they do it. And I said, you know what, if I win, I will be one of the best assembly people that I could ever be. I will be on the forefront, but I will also continue to do my calling. Angela Cares is still running. I was elected in 2015, got sworn in 2016, and Angela Cares is still here. So I had no inclination of running for office. It found me. And in many cases for women, politics find women. Like, we don't really go out and say, okay, we're going to run for, because we're nurtured.
Why do you think that? Speak on that. Why do you think that that's the case?
It seems like politics is more, for years, for decades, it's always been a man's world, right? It's always been, and then sometimes politics get ugly, right? People fighting each other, just And to be as a woman, we're like nurturers and carers, and we want to make sure everything is nice. But now is like, no, we need to be on the forefront. And I'm happy that the mayor and the HCDO came and approached me, because I had no inclination. I'm like, no, I don't even know about politics, but I'm charting my way. And since being elected, I feel that I'm doing a great job. Yeah, I have to pat myself on the back.
Many people, many of us agree too, Assemblywoman. Now, when we first met, I believe you were on the education committee. Are you still on there for the?
No, I was on the education committee. Now I am the chairwoman. So I have a chairwomanship. So I'm the chairwoman of Homeland and State Preparedness. I'm back on Women and Children, and I'm on Senior Services. So there's a committee now for senior services. So it's just very befitting that I'm part of that committee.
Talk to us a little bit about each of those committees, but tell us about your time on the education committee and why is that committee important to us? How can college students, their parents, those who are higher education advocates or activists, what would you say to them about your experience there and why that particular committee is important?
So the education committee, when I was on it, it was very uplifting. I learned so much about legislation and how it impacts education, and that's teachers, that's students, that's parents, and the pieces of legislation that came my way allow more funding to go to schools, right? Allow funding for teachers, allow policies and procedures. Like I have a piece of legislation for financial literacy. So now sixth graders, seventh and eighth graders are learning about financial literacy, and that passed through the education committee. Because prior, only when you became like in the ninth grade, high school, you learned about financial literacy. And I thought, no, children need to learn about financial literacy as soon as they say, mommy, daddy, can I have, right? So a piece of legislation for education is now in there where it's teaching children about financial literacy, education to teach them about child trafficking, like the signs, the warning signs. And then for college, bringing more funding, like opening up where more students can get access to funding. So it's so important because no matter what, whether you're in kindergarten or your second year in college, you are our future. So we have to make sure that the education, the higher ed, as well as regular education, the special education, or everything within education is charted forward, because in about 20, 30, years, we are going to be the elderly and they're going to be our leaders. So why not make sure that all the different bills, all the different legislation that run through the education committee is pertinent, not just for now, but for future. And I'm the chair of the Homeland Security and State Preparedness. And my first time chairing that, we went through bills for COVID-19. So it was, we did a bill to have a moratorium on eviction and foreclosure of mortgages. And we did a number of bills. And also, once we go back, I will have some committees to talk about, are we prepared? And what have we learned from the pandemic that we can put actions in place? So that's my state preparedness. And then senior services is all about seniors and the elderly. And women and children, hey, how can we make this world a better place for, women and children? Domestic violence, making sure that parental rights are in place. Any and everything that you could think of that affects women. Healthcare, and as well as children. So those are the three committees that I'm on. And then as far as education, it's a plethora of things that helps our future leaders just grow and expand. So one thing I want to say for everyone that's listening, I want you to go to the state website and you will see all the different pieces of legislation, whether they have been signed into law or they've been introduced. And start reading. Like there are over 10 committees there. Whatever committee that sparks your mind, go click on it and start reading pieces of legislation. And if you agree with them, send us an email to say you support this piece of legislation. If you don't agree with it, send us an email and tell us you don't agree with this and why. All of that is right at your fingertips. You can also watch committee meetings and voting sessions. Whether you can't go, if you
are those streamed live?
Yes, they are. And you can watch the previous ones. Mm-hmm. It's all there on the state website.
We just recently started streaming live our student government meetings because I thought it was important, and so did others, so did student leaders, to be more transparent, even at the student government level. But doesn't that teach them, as when they go into the real world, how to advocate even in that space? Talk a little bit about the importance of the connection between student government and the values you can learn and the transferable skills that you can learn from being a student leader that do actually transfer over into the real world, as we said.
Well, one thing you can do, you practice on getting out in front of people and talking to people about the importance of that piece of legislation that you want to do. You can find support within the student body for that piece of legislation. You can find opposition. You can find ways, you can find new pieces of legislation just by talking to the student body. You can do surveys. You can have focus groups. You have a body right there. How many students are there?
We have, so don't get me lost in the quote. One of the things are on, so they'll give me an exact number. I think we're somewhere around 2,600 students total. Bloomfield is fairly small. Our freshman and first year class is usually about 500.
All right, so 2,600 students. You can utilize and you can do a focus group just with those 2,600 students. So don't go small, go big and start tapping into that student body.
So are you suggesting, Assemblywoman, that even as a college student, they can impact state legislation?
Oh, yes. Hello. Yes, you can. You can give us some, you can send us an email, or you can come actually talk to us. You can call my office and arrange to have a meeting with me to talk about pieces of legislation. If you want to bring 10 or 15 of your student body with you to come with you to talk to me, you can do that. You can do that to all 120 of us, right? It's 80 Assembly and 40 40 senators. So you can do that. So you matter because you're right there in college. So we're doing legislation, but you are actually living it. So based on the legislation that we have, and now it's law, if you feel that it's not doing well, or it needs to be tweaked, or, oh, you guys need to do this, use your voice to let us know. Because how will we know? We don't know everything.
What do you, we have two questions that came through the main feed. One is relevant to just engaging, and it kind of leads us to the COVID-19 discussion a little bit. With the current health crisis, actually not that one. The, spelled the senior engagement. I'll paraphrase the question for now, but pretty much it's saying that, okay, human interaction, here it is important for seniors. So in these current times, is it difficult to interact with the senior population, especially in senior homes or senior buildings? How can we still show love and interact with seniors responsibly? I love young people. That's a young person's question, actually.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yes, as of right now, where you're unable to visit the seniors in the senior buildings as well as in the nursing homes. However, you have, hopefully, if your mom or an older adult is alive, reach out to them to say, hey, do you have any senior friends? Do you have their number? Because I want to call them. If you're in church, reach out to your pastor, because there are a lot of seniors that are, that go to church. Reach out to your pastor to get 2 or 3 of the senior numbers and just call them. Call them once a week, like a wellness check, just to see how they're doing. They're home. A lot of them can't come out. So just by a friendly call would definitely make their day. And in addition, If you want to volunteer with Angela Cares, we are actually delivering groceries to seniors. You can do that. So we're not entering any senior homes, but we're putting it on the porch or we put it in the community room. So you can reach out to my organization and you can definitely help buy groceries and pack groceries and deliver groceries and make telephone calls.
I'm going to also see, Assemblywoman, how we can help through our SERVE program. We have a SERVE initiative here, which was actually founded by one of the vice presidents, assistant vice president for student affairs, Dean Mitchell. And it's all about making, bridging the gap between community service and service learning. So obviously she and those who help bring that about recognize the importance of, again, not just community service opportunities for our community, which many of us are familiar with, whether it's an older relative who may have access to volunteer as a young person or not, but service learning is not necessarily an opportunity many of our students get the opportunity to do. Vice President Mitchell also had a question. She wanted to know what top 3 tips would you give to those who struggle discovering their purpose and passion? And what is your advice on motivating young people, especially young people of color who experience lack of family support or role models in their lives?
So I'll go to the latter first. If you're experiencing lack of support and family, reach out to your college. Reach out, Terrance, I'm putting you on blast right here. Reach out to Terrance. Reach out to the president. Reach out to a professor that you have a connection to. Not all the time your family will be there for you. That's just reality. But don't let the lack of support from family deter you from being the best person that you can be. I'm here for you. So Terrance can share my information with you and you can reach out to me. Sometimes we just need a few people that will lend an ear, and it sometimes won't come from your family, but you have a college family that you can just reach out to, and including Terrance. And yes, it is part of the village. I see that. It's part of the village. It takes a village, and not all the time your support will come from your family. And the first question is 3 tips on starting. What was the first question?
The first part of it was, what tips would you give to those who struggle discovering their purpose and passion?
Okay. So don't rush it, because it will come. What I want you to do is take a pen and piece of paper, and I want you to write down things that you like to do. Do you like to, work with cats? Do you like to talk to people? Write down what you really like. And then it's like a bucket list. And then start doing those things. It will come to you. Whomever your higher power is, begin to start that relationship with him or her. Read inspirational books. Here is a book that I'm reading right now. It's called The Motivation Manifesto. I want you to read this book. It's a great book. It's called 9 Declarations to Claim Your Personal Power. And so far, I'm on chapter 3. And it has really changed my life. It showed me not to live in fear anymore, because I do have fears at times. But this book has given me a new perspective on eliminating fear in my life. So again, write down things that you think you like to do. Start doing those things. Reach out to your higher power. Begin to read inspirational books. And last but not least, be still. Meditate. It may take you some time to get it, but just start off with 5 minutes of just sitting and being still. And as those thoughts are coming in your mind, just throw them, move them away, and it will come to you. But don't rush.
You talked about, there was about 4 more points I wanted to cover today. You talked about volunteer opportunities that you have with Angela Kids, and we'll definitely follow up on that. And if you have any way that we can virtually volunteer, let us know, whether it's reaching out to some of your program participants just to check up on them, and we provide you sort of the feedback. We're willing to help any way we can. Our students are looking for something to do, and are constantly reaching out about that. Speaking of COVID-19, how's that being combated in your children's school and in the districts in Jersey City? And then are there any specific discussions or recent actions that you've been a part of? We recently had the Commissioner of Education and his team on Friday, a part of a webinar, and they talked a lot about, or reported out mostly a lot about some of the things they're doing statewide. But how is Jersey City, and what are you doing as their Assemblywoman? And obviously you impact the whole state. Are there any statewide discussions you're having?
Yes. So to answer the question, the Motivation Manifesto. So if you can see that.
I'm writing, I put it in the thing, the Motivation Manifesto?
Yes.
Got it.
So, and I'm from, Jersey City, and the district is closed. Throughout New Jersey is closed until right now. The governor said up until May 15th, and then he'll come back and, give us another update. But as of right now, it's until May 15th. The colleges, everything is closed. Colleges are virtual. So right now in the district, we're feeding the students. They can go to different stops and inside the school, not inside the school, next to the school, to pick up the breakfast and lunch. So they're doing that. I'm very engaged with the governor, as well as the assembly speaker and my fellow legislators, to figure out what we can do to help students, especially the ones who don't have access to the internet. That is a huge problem that we know. Especially in color, people of color, they don't have the ones who don't have access to the internet. Right. So they've been given like a workbook packet and problem that we know, especially teachers and the parents teach their children, and they're putting it on Facebook. It's just been amazing.
I'm sorry, we had a bit of a delay. My apologies, Assemblywoman.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
The next point is, first of all, you're getting great feedback from Facebook as well. So we're trying to make sure we don't leave out our Facebook. Sometimes we get to them after the fact because we're dealing with the live chat. But you have folks, Arnaldo Webster, you have Joyce Harley, all commending you. And obviously Arnaldo Webster Jr., his dad is obviously a politician here, well known in education and things like that. And so thank you for helping us raise the standard in terms of community outreach and being a part of this platform.
Well, thank you. And I want to say hi to everyone that's watching via Facebook as well as on the call. Thank you so much. This is great.
Talk about census. Why is that important to Jersey City? Why is that important to Essex County, Hudson County, and urban areas?
Well, it's 10 years, right? The census is every 10 years, and that brings resources back to us. And looking at Jersey City numbers, we're low. It's about, I think, 30-something%. It's so important. I did it for my family and I. It allows us, the municipalities, to get the resources that we need. It touches education. We talked about education, infrastructure. It touches everything. So some people are like, oh no, I don't want to get my information. Give your information. They're not going to come after you. They're not. If you have a brother that tends to, maybe he's homeless, but he tends to always come to your house, add him to the census. It takes no more than 10 minutes. I did it with my grandson, maybe 2 weeks ago, or April 1st, I guess. Yeah, maybe April 1st. I did it with my grandson and I filled it out. It's so important, because if we don't get the adequate funding that we need, I'm going to say this, we're screwed for the next 10 years. Right? We're going through a pandemic right now, and you see the lack of resources that we have. So just imagine how much it's going to take to get up to par. So if you don't fill out that census, you're doing yourself, your family, a disservice. any future kids that you want to have within the next 10 years, you're doing a disservice. So please fill out the census. You can fill it out online, or you can make a telephone call. I think the number is like 1-800-2020-census. Call, fill the census out. And if you know, here's another one. If you know of an elderly that don't have a computer, you can help them fill out the census. Give them a call and see, hey, have you filled out the census? And you can do it with them over the phone. You can do a 3-way.
We're going to be launching very soon a competitive contest in regards to the census with our student leaders and other students on campus. So student groups can get invoices cleared at the end of the year, at the end of the semester, by showing how many of their organization members, sending a screenshot and confirming how many certified, posting and hashtagging it online. Is that, would you recommend, is that a good practice for us to get young people involved? My daughter is 13, so she'll be 23 when the next census occurs. So you really put that in perspective when you talk about 10 years from now.
Yes. And so I did a selfie with my grandson, because my grandson and I did it. And I said, he counts, I count, we all count. And I did a selfie with him, and talking to the younger generation. Yes. Use this technology, right? Take a hat, do a hashtag, do a selfie, do the census. Is so important to do, and then share it. You share everything else. You share about a celebrity, share that you did the census. And also I want to commend the celebrities that are out there saying that it's so important to complete the census. And if you are 19 now, in 10 years, you're going to be 29.
Someone who's a candidate for the student government this year, and I think she's also applied to be an orientation leader, very, very smart student, Miss Griffith. She wanted to know, what advice would you give students who have trouble speaking up for what they want, whether it's in school, at home, and community? And are there any common things between those three spaces? I'm adding that part in. And are there any specific recommendations you would have based on any of those three safe havens, really, school, home, and community?
So if you have a problem in speaking up, write it out. Write it out, because you're able to express yourself a little more. So write it out, and then start talking to yourself. Like, stand in front of the mirror and talk about your ills or what you want to do, and then utilize some friends that are in your community and start talking to them. Like, you have to speak. You cannot be quiet anymore. But first, write it out. Listen, if the president, if a assembly person, if a mayor can use a teleprompt, why can't we use index cards? So, because sometimes I forget what I want to say. I'm like, okay, what do I want to say? At times I write my speech out and I read it, because this is what helps me. And don't think about the people that are in front of you. Think about the message that you want the people to hear. You can have 50 people in front of you, but think about what you want them to hear. But first, just write it out.
And then I've been given advice too, that when all else fails, to speak from your heart, and people will typically receive that. Would you agree with that, Assemblywoman?
Yes. Speak from your heart, and you would never have to figure out what to say. I tell people I'm too pretty for jail, and I don't have time to be lying to people, because I don't know what I said to you. But if I'm speaking from my heart and I'm telling the truth, there you go.
They said another question is, as a minor, how did you convince your family to complete the census?
Well, they had no other choice. I completed it. So it only takes one person to, there's one census per household. So if you live with your mom, your dad, your sibling, maybe a niece, it only takes one person to fill it out, and you just fill out all the information. You just add everyone that lives in that household. But if you're not the person that's filling it out, then you need to talk to your guardians, talk to your mother, talk to your father, and say, here are 3 top reasons why, Dad, you need to fill this out. And all of that information, you can just go on to census.gov and get some talking points to have that conversation. Right. So while we're home, because we're home, a lot of us home, have that conversation with your family about the importance of filling out the census. Now is the time. And people can't say, I don't have time. We all have time now.
We all have. That's so true. Dean Mitchell said it took her about 10 minutes to fill it out. And she was motivated just by an email coming out from the school. So it is very simple. And again, you can also, if one part of your family filled it out on the paper and you'd rather do it online, it still will end up coming together. And so in terms of the information, each code or household has a code identified or connected to them. And so there's so many options that the state has done. On Thursday, we'll have Patricia, who is the state coordinator for the census, on the next webinar. I'll put her information and the link for that webinar in the comments section too. So that'll be Thursday at 2. It'll be our second installment to the census. And we're glad that Patricia was able to, one, join our first census conversation, which was featured Dr. Joyce Harley, who did an amazing job at just breaking down the importance and the liabilities and the benefits of engaging. And we appreciate her for giving Bloomfield kudos. So big shout out to our president for Bloomfield once again stepping up and being at the forefront to use our voice, right? Assemblywoman, 2 last points. And they're connected. What are the disappointing factors relevant to college students voting for you in local, county, and state elections, and also national elections? And how does that connect to our topic? And then the second, I guess, part of that question is, what's your advisement in regards to students both engaging and learning about the vote by mail process?
So I don't have if you're in college and you are of age to vote, I want you to, and it's not about voting for me, it's about exercising your vote. I want you to research all candidates and see if their platform correlates to what you want to do in life. Are they for education because you're because you're from education? What have they done? Not what they plan on doing, because a person's actions speaks louder than words. All of the different mailers that come out says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But you have to look at the character of that person. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that that person has done what he or she said that they were going to do in their past life? Whether they're working in corporate world, they have, they're entrepreneur, and then you vote by how they are connected with you. Do you feel that they will do and represent you in a well manner? Mm-hmm. And then you exercise your vote. Don't just vote for someone because I'm just vote. No, I need you to do your due diligence and research the candidate. And part 2, I would say, how would I say this? The truth is it's shown on a person. I can sit here and talk till I'm blue in the face, but if you don't have a connection, I'm just talking. Does that resonate? You
basically saying that, I say a few things that we have to, back in the day, the folks said, older folks would say, put your money where your mouth is. But I also just go with the thing that, you can't legislate morality. This generation has an obligation, and the generations to come, to take their rightful place in the marching orders of Dr. King. And so we can quote the speech, and we can quote great leaders who have been trailblazers all day, every day. We can go to church and we can pray all day, every day. But prayer without action, without work, is just prayer. And so we have to do the work in order to see the results. And so I am both inspired and empowered by you, Assemblywoman. And I hope that those who had the opportunity to listen in today, and again, between the feedback from Zoom and also from Facebook, it is echoing the same thing, that they appreciated your candidness. They also appreciated your heart. That definitely came through today, that you are definitely passionate about being one of our Assemblywomen leaders. And that's shown today by giving up some of the time that you could be with your family to take an hour and a half, 2 hours to be with us. But also just the things that you shared. I feel you don't have to be a superhero to receive and be able to put some of those things you said at least into action. And so we appreciate you sharing those things with us. Is there anything that you would like to share with our community before we close out?
Yes. So I teach an entrepreneur class. I teach entrepreneurs how to start and grow their business. That's one of the hats that I wear. Mm-hmm. And during the first class, this is what I say to them. I named the class Legacy Makers. So anytime I teach that group, they're called Legacy Makers. And I say this to them. Do you want to be remembered by being a legacy maker or a billionaire? So for example, a billionaire makes money and like, okay, yeah, that's a billionaire. But a legacy maker is like Dr. Martin Luther King. So many people, including myself, we inspire to be like him. His legacy will live on forever. So you have to make the choice. Do you want to be a legacy maker or a billionaire?
Wow. I thank you for that very much. I'm going to reach out to you to get some information about the Angela Cares thing. So again, we can follow up with the SERVE program. There was another question that came in about whether or not our SERVE program has sort of a junior component to it, where we were bridging the gap and making connections with junior high and high school students. And so we don't necessarily have that, but we would love to do that. And definitely maybe you can help us out with making that connection in Jersey City. We have a partnership with the city of Newark. Big shout out to Roger Leon, who's our superintendent, and also our vice president of student affairs, Dr. Patrick Lamy, who spearheaded a partnership with the Newark Public Schools, and students from their top performing schools will be able to come to Bloomfield College, a private school, which can be very expensive, for free, and not for free really, but because they've already done the work and paid it forward in terms of their academic success. And so based on their student performance, many students will have a choice at least to come to Bloomfield College. And so that will open up some mentorship opportunities, but we definitely would like to have the SERVE program help out the seniors in Jersey City, Hudson County, and also some young people, if you'd be willing to help us out with that. And lastly, I'll circle back with you regarding coming on campus to speak to some of our young ladies. We have different ladies groups or focus groups that are on campus. One is an actual student group, and the other is a team of ladies that meets with sort of a mentor who's one of the administrative assistants on campus who pretty much meets with students each and every week. Even now, she still continued it. So big shout out to Keisha as well from Student Affairs, who, much like you, is passionate and really is committed. And so I wanted to share a little bit about some of the folks at Bloomfield College to let you know that you are more than welcome to come here. And the love and energy that you're getting from the Zoom will be waiting for you in person as soon as we can.
Yes. So I would like to let you know, once we are, we're able to go out into the world, I would love to come to Bloomfield College. But until then, if you want to connect me with any of the young women on Zoom or a conference call, I'm all here. You just let me know. So you have me.
Dean Mitchell, I know you're there and you might be off camera. Dr. Emmons isn't here. Would you like to say any closeout words or remarks? I'm not sure if she's speaking or not. It looked like it. Oh, let me take her
but
off.
She's very low.
Okay. Dean Mitchell?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Ding.
Okay, wonderful. Would you like for me to take my...
It's up to you. I'm sure you look great. Look at you. I knew it.
Hey. Hi, Angela. Hi. Hello to everyone that is participating today. I just absolutely love everything that has been said today. You are an inspiration to me. I'm sure you're an inspiration to everyone that's on this call, an inspiration to those in your community. And just hearing you talk about finding your purpose and living out your passion and being true to who you are and making a difference in the world is amazing. I mean, look at COVID-19. This alone lets us know that it's really not about us individually. It is about us as a people, as a community. We're fighting this together. And so all of the things that our students and people can do to engage and connect and to serve and to protect and just to make a difference in the world that we live in. So it's not about what touch points, what fingerprints or footprints that we leave just for ourselves, but how do we leave footprints and fingerprints for others? How can we utilize our voices where we can leave a legacy for other people? Because we should all want to make the world a better place.
Yes.
That is really the mission. We arrived here in this world to make a difference. So kudos to you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for all that you're doing. I saw a couple of chats, people shouting you out, Dee. So thank you so much. And you are absolutely correct. We are in this together. And I tell people, I'm just a piece of the puzzle, just like you are a piece of the puzzle. So when all the pieces of the puzzle come together, it's a beautiful masterpiece.
Absolutely. And blessings to you.
Thank you. Blessings to you and your family.
Yes.
Thank you for everyone. We're going to sign off with our podcast theme song. I'll see you all on Wednesday at 6:00 for the weekly CSLE podcast. Big shout out to Angela McKnight. Shout out to Angela Cares. Let's go. Jersey City. How you represented well today.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy.
CSLE podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the BC Virtual Engagement Experience. With your dopest host, Terrance L. Bankston. It's CSLE podcast, virtually we on full blast. With an hospital tip, it's a Bluetooth class. Lead a socket to the plug if you ask this class. So everybody line up, it's that time to sign up. Everyone says it's free, everything go down columns. No prompters, we prompt us, we now. Turn your volume up, full loud, we now. Is now. Right. It's all right now. BCBEP is now. BCBEP is now.
Hi, this is George Darby, representing Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and you are now virtually connected to the CSLE Weekly Podcast, hosted by none other than my brother, Terrance L. Bankston, and the BC students every Wednesday at 6 p.m.